anchors this absolutely pivotal moment to one of the most tragic, earth-shattering days in American history: the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. You know, the script's direction for this moment is it's masterful, because it's so simple. It's just 3 words: he was there. That's it. You pair that with some actual archival footage of the Lorraine Motel, and that minimalist approach, it just avoids all the melodrama. Instead, you get this moment of really profound, quiet gravity. It places Jackson not just near history, but right at its absolute epicenter. And check this out. This is how they pivot the entire narrative. The story moves straight from the depths of that tragedy to a call to action. The way the guide frames it is perfect. The dream didn't die, the torch was passed. And who was positioned as the one to pick it up? Jesse Jackson. He's the one who refuses to let that flame go out. Now, to make that pivot from tragedy to action feel real and earned, you can't just stay in the emotional space. So the guide immediately moves to something tangible. It shows the creation of actual institutions, like Operation Push. And this is such a crucial step in the storytelling. It grounds the whole narrative. It proves that all that passion wasn't just talk. It was channeled into organized, concrete action. All right, so all of this momentum, it just keeps building, and it leads to the next huge story beat: Jackson's historic campaigns for president. But the guide is really smart about this. It strategically frames these runs not just as, political events. It presents them as the culmination of his entire movement, a direct challenge to the very same establishment he first stood up to as a young man. And this is where the storytelling makes a really interesting shift. It goes from feelings and ideas to cold, hard numbers. To show you the sheer scale of this movement, the guide calls for a huge number right on the screen: over 7 million votes. Now, when you see a number that big and you pair it with visuals of these massive, diverse crowds, it's not just a statistic anymore, is it? It becomes undeniable proof that this was a real political force to be reckoned with. So now we're at a peak moment in the whole emotional arc of this tribute. And the guide is super specific here. It says to take this quote and pair it with an inspirational orchestral swell. I mean, you can just hear it, right? It is a textbook example of how you combine powerful words with powerful music to create one of those unforgettable goosebumps on your arms moments of hope and pure resilience. Okay, so his impact on the national stage is locked in. What next? Well, the blueprint strategically zooms out. It broadens the lens. The story expands way beyond America's borders to frame Jesse Jackson not just as an American civil rights leader, but as a truly respected global statesman. And the guide says this part has to be a rapid-fire montage, just hit after hit after hit of global achievements. The pacing here is everything. By flashing from his fight against apartheid to diplomatic missions to meeting world leaders, the tribute just builds this sense of undeniable gravitas. It's how you elevate a legacy onto the world stage. So, after all that, how do you even end a story this big? It's a real challenge. Well, the final act of this tribute is so carefully designed. The goal is to crystallize his entire legacy, moving from the huge public figure back to the simple core message that really fueled his entire life. The guide actually structures the ending like a 3-step ladder, designed to take you to a final emotional peak. Step 1, it gets personal. It humanizes him as a father, a mentor. That's how it creates connection. Step 2, it takes his actions and elevates them into this big universal idea, a blueprint for hope. And finally, step 3, it achieves a kind of immortality by showing that the torch is being passed on to the next generation. It's a masterful structure because it makes sure the story doesn't just end when his life does. And this is the final and maybe the most powerful move in the entire blueprint. The tribute doesn't end with a date of death. It doesn't end on a somber note. It ends on a command, a call to action. Keep hope alive. And with just those 3 words, the whole narrative transforms. It stops being a memorial for one person and becomes this enduring mission for every single person watching. So, when you break it all down like this, it kind of forces you to ask a really fundamental question, doesn't it? The life of Jesse Jackson, well, that's a matter of historical record. The facts are the facts. But the story of Jesse Jackson, as we've just seen, is a very deliberate, very careful construction. So it makes you wonder, which one really has more power in the end? The life that was actually lived, or the story that gets told? Something to think about. Thanks for digging into this with me today.
But I am somebody. I may be unwell. welfare, but I am somebody. I may be in jail, but I am somebody. I may be uneducated, but I am somebody. I am black, beautiful, proud. I must be respected. I must be protected. I am somebody. Right on.
Rest in power, Reverend Jesse Jackson. I was 18 years old. It was my first time voting, and I voted for him. Reverend Jesse Jackson, civil rights icon and two-time presidential candidate, dies at 84. Our father was a servant leader, not only to our family, but to the oppressed, the voiceless, and the overlooked around the world. The Jackson family said in a statement Tuesday, and I remember him teaching me, I am somebody. Black History 365.